Aloha friends and family, this is Parker Paredes with Whizzer Hawaii, and in partnership with Miley Girl Productions, we're here at Uptown Jiu-Jitsu with Shane Agena. Shane, how are you doing?
Good.
Right on, Shane.
Good to have you guys.
Awesome. So thank you so much for having us here tonight. So tell me, Shane, you know, we think about Jiu-Jitsu in Hawaii, and there's a lot going on. It's gaining momentum, it's gaining steam, but part of our focus is looking at guys who are part of those early years of Jiu-Jitsu in Hawaii. Tell us how you got started and how it all went.
So I think I started in 95 or 96. I don't remember exact year. It was right after I just graduated from high school. Hoist had won the UFCs, and the main academy opened up in Cocoa Head. So I heard something, and I was scared to try it out at first. I didn't know what I was getting into. I mean, I saw the UFC, but kind of intimidated to go in there. So I kind of waited for like 6 months, and eventually I went and signed up, and I guess I never stopped after that.
Right on. So you mentioned the UFC. Tell me, were a lot of the original guys who were walking through the doors, were they interested in mixed martial arts in that way, or was it jiu-jitsu focused?
I don't think it was so much MMA. I mean, the jiu-jitsu was certainly a lot rougher and less inclusive, but wasn't as technical as it is now. I want to say most people just came in to defend themselves or to do whatever Hoist was doing. That's what we all thought we were doing. So our jiu-jitsu kind of looked like that, like rough, raw, and I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, tell me about that. So Hoist, definitely that lineage was coming through in what you guys were being taught. Mm-hmm. The style of jiu-jitsu, the sparring, the randori, all of that, it was all, like you said, it was rough. It was a little bit more straightforward, simple type of jiu-jitsu.
So I think when I started, the old man had partnered up with Horian, and they were kind of commercializing it. So I missed most of the super rough era where it had like Ensign and Egan and the Onzukas and those guys. I kind of came in when it was nice mats and AC and nice press gis, but I feel like some of the mentality was still left over. So when I'm a brand new white belt, these purples and blues, they're just beating on us, and that's all we knew. That was just what it was like. And then as soon as we could beat on people, they got it too.
So it was, you come in, you get indoctrinated, you're the nail for a little bit, and as you develop, you slowly become the hammer.
Yeah, I mean, I remember looking at like a pillar in the middle of the room, and there was like a list of champions, and I'm a bad student, and I would not pay attention to class and basically look at these people's names and try and figure out who they were and be like, oh, that guy is awesome, or that guy's really good, I want to be like that guy. So that was one of the things, because there was so much of us coming through that everyone was trying to be somebody, you know.
Okay.
We all thought we wanted to be better than everybody else.
Sure. So that was that was your first steps onto the mats for Jiu-Jitsu. Shane, tell me about your personal, like, where did you go to school? Where are you from?
So I grew up in town. I went to McKinley, class of 94. I dabbled in some sports, but I wasn't good at anything. I did some wrestling. So when I came in Jiu-Jitsu, I had some wrestling, but I wasn't like good by any means. Okay. I kind of quit throughout in the early part of the season. It was too much for me mentally at the time. I wasn't ready to grind like how those guys do, and I was like, what are these guys doing? Like, yeah. By the time I got a little bit older, then I was a little bit more ready for that grind. Sure. Even though it's not as hard as the wrestlers, it was more bearable, or maybe I was more mature or something. Yeah.
Would you say that it is a good opportunity, Jiu-Jitsu, that if you haven't found yourself in the younger years in terms of like what your athletic ability or what your focus is, because Jiu-Jitsu exists to us at all ages in our life, Jiu-Jitsu seems like a really good opportunity for the people who are ready a little bit later, when they're a little bit more mature, to start coming and training hard.
Okay, so I don't know how to answer that, because I started at 19. Oh, okay. And I'm 48 now, so I came in at my maximum peak, and I slowly aged, which gave me the luxury of adapting throughout the years. Whereas nowadays, I get guys who started at my age or start now, I have to teach them differently from what I was taught back in my day, which we weren't really taught that. Like, we were just taught one class. We're not taught that, okay, maybe these older guys learn differently from the younger guys, because they don't want to compete. They just want an activity to do and maybe defend themselves or just camaraderie of coming to class. So now a bunch of that comes in my mind more as an instructor,
Sure.
as compared to before. I didn't have the foresight to see all that.
Excellent. So from 19 to 48, tell me, there's obviously a lot of changes in your strength, in your ability, in your knowledge, your fortitude. In that range from 19 to 48, where did you see the peak of your everything matching up? Like skill meets strength, meets drive, meets focus. Like at what age group, where did that kind of hit the peak?
I honestly feel like I'm there now.
Yeah,
like
awesome.
if I play myself to the death,
Yeah.
I think I'm smart enough now that I could eventually win. I would get passed, mounted, taken down by younger me, but I think just smarts and strategy. Like
Sure.
I'm starting to learn strategy on how to deal with younger guys. So, I mean, of course I don't compete anymore, so I'm not even trying to score a lot of points or do active hard 3-minute rounds. I'm kind of slowing it down, and I really appreciate more the Aylor Gracie mindset and what he was doing. As I age, every decade my game drastically changed, and as I'm approaching the 5-0, I kind of see things changing more towards what he would always say,
Excellent.
preaching defense and
Sure.
survival. And
Is there anything from when you were 19, when you first stepped on the mat, that transcends into, fast forward to today? Like you said, you're about to hit the 5-0 mark. Is there any fundamental group of things that you learned that transcend all throughout your career as a jiu-jitsu athlete?
so luckily, when I learned techniques in the beginning, for the first 10 years, I think we only trained with the gi.
Okay.
I don't think no gi, Abu Dhabi didn't really exist until I was almost like a purple belt, I think. So we did t-shirt class, but it wasn't like submission grappling. It was we wear gi pants and a t-shirt and we slap each other in the head. It wasn't like how we think of submission grappling now.
Right.
So
right.
it's kind of different. So luckily, my techniques, I try to do things because I have like a filter that I try and do, whether it's a gi applicable, no gi applicable, and in a fight applicable. So I kind of try and narrow down my core techniques to something that you can do in all three.
Excellent.
Even though it's not going to be the most efficient, especially with the gi, because there's so much tricks and intricacies of opening the gi and holding people. I don't really want to teach that or be really good at something like that.
Sure.
As compared to, say, a guillotine or a armbar or a triangle. That's kind of like where I think jiu-jitsu should be for everybody. And we'll still probably lose to a guy who's specializing in gi or maybe even no gi, but I kind of think of it as like the survival knife of jiu-jitsu. So like if you have a survival knife, you have to go chop that tree down, you could do it.
Right.
If I had to perform surgery on your leg, I could still probably do it. It's not the best, I'd want a scalpel, right?
Sure.
But as compared to, I don't want to have to go in my tool bag, get the scalpel, go in my tool bag, get the axe. I just
Right.
kind of want to have one too, because I think the average person doesn't have enough bandwidth in their brain to focus all that.
Sure.
I think we're too busy with our lives. Most of us are not professional athletes. We don't compete, so we just kind of need one jiu-jitsu to kind of fit it all.
Yeah. Say your boys are gonna, or your colleagues are gonna be training no-gi. You gotta have a skill set that can at least be applicable.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
you can hang.
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't always learn it that way. I mean, I went from a wrestling-based top guy to a complete opposite guard guy, and now I'm swinging back I kind of swing back and forth. I know as I get older, top feels a lot better than guard. I think it's terrible for your back
Yeah.
and your neck to be in certain positions.
Sure.
But yeah, that's kind of my mindset on techniques. I try and run my core curriculum and moves through those three filters.
Excellent. Shane, can we get your perspective on modern day jiu-jitsu, modern day no-gi? We're seeing a lot of guys specializing in leg locks, a lot of diving under. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's great for innovation. I like to watch it. I can't do none of it. I like to train with those guys to see like if I'm going to get caught or how to get out. Some of it I have no idea how to get out. I got to go research stuff and then try it out. But we're older guys here, so we don't really get too much visitors. Maybe once in a while someone will bring in a young relative or friend, and then he has a different game, and then I like to see that. But I think the evolution is good, but not all of it is good.
Sure.
I think some of the lapel stuff and worm stuff, like, I don't know if it's really necessary for the growth. I think back in the day, like when I started, there was like it was pretty much Gracies. The Gracies were the black belts.
Right.
So in my mind, or what would happen is the Gracie, he would kick your ass. Oh, sorry.
No,
he would beat you up.
Yeah.
And he would roll you up, and he would teach you.
Right.
I think as Jiu-Jitsu got bigger, we evolved into second, third generation off the Gracies where maybe they don't beat you up.
Right.
Maybe they don't even tap you out, but
Right.
they teach you.
Right.
And I think as it got bigger, it kind of evolved into something different where we don't have that Gracie level people too much, right? We don't have like maybe like a few like Damian Maia, Robert Drysdale, those guys who did MMA and they use modern jiu-jitsu in MMA, the Jacques. That's where jiu-jitsu should have evolved to the guy who can do it all,
Right.
rather than so specialized.
Sure. Yeah, because those early practitioners, those guys were good athletes. They could hang, they could kickbox, they could do a whole plethora of sports and hang with good guys. So yeah, I agree with that 100%. Tell me, you mentioned that you would get rolled up, that rough and tough early introduction to jiu-jitsu. How important is that in modern day jiu-jitsu, in modern day training, to come in and humble,
So, okay, I don't know if this is the exact answer. It's good to build your fighting spirit.
Okay.
It's terrible for your body.
Yeah.
So I think going through that, yes, built my fighting spirit so I know I can survive. I know I can, I guess, just survive or overcome certain challenges or just endure maybe.
Right, be a dog on the mat.
But it's terrible for your body.
Yeah.
I think there's weight limits for a reason. I think when I was younger, my coaches should have reined me back a lot more than they did, and now I'm kind of paying the price. I think 50 pounds and more is not really good, not for long, especially in certain guard positions where it's going to blow out your back, which is exactly what happened to me.
Yeah. Injuries in jiu-jitsu. We're seeing joints, like you said, back injuries. How do we, as practitioners, how do we kind of hedge the bets against getting injured? What would you say? What advice would you give to our viewers?
It's training partners and intensity.
Yeah.
It's all knowing your training partners. If I'm going with somebody I don't know who's way younger than me, it's okay to lose the battle, but don't lose the war. Pedro Sauer told me that. I asked him, like, how do you still roll with these guys? Because I see him like rolling, and he's like, yeah, you lose the battle, but don't lose the war. So that goes back to Elo Gracie mindset of you lose the positioning, or I interpret it as lose positioning, but don't get the submission. So a lot of my game now is kind of that.
I see. The nuances between position to finish. Yeah, even if you lose something, you're setting up for the length of that match or the length of that Randori session. Okay, excellent.
So now we do long rounds.
Okay.
Like I do like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10.
Okay.
But my guys don't know any different because we just make it long.
Right.
Whereas we go to other places, it's like 5 minutes and it's done. I feel mentally that the longer rounds strengthen you because you know you can survive. And it's not that bad. You just tap out, right? If I'm tired underneath you, get off of me,
Right.
But people, they feel like they don't want to stop in between rounds, so that's why the long rounds kind of forces them to push a little bit more than they want to.
Sure. When do you see that different aspects of people's jiu-jitsu game develops in those longer rounds, that they handle themselves differently?
I think it's more of a survival mindset. I think it's terrible for competing.
Yeah.
But you got to read the room. My room is mid to late 30s, early 40s.
Sure.
We don't have any teenagers, any 20-year-olds, so that's kind of where we're at.
Right.
If we're not competing, we're kind of surviving.
Sure. Yeah. These are not sprints. These are a little bit longer than sprints. Yeah,
especially as you get older. Like I really had to adjust.
Yeah. So Shane, tell me your perspective on jiu-jitsu as a whole scene in Hawaii. Like, what do you think? Give me just your 10-minute elevator speech on Hawaii's jiu-jitsu.
I think there's a lot of different fractions. We don't really train with each other.
Yeah.
Some of that from the old school, which I do appreciate, but I'm also kind of the black sheep of that where I do kind of train outside too. So I can see both sides. I'm sorry, what is the original question again?
Yeah. what would you say, like just Hawaii's jiu-jitsu, the overall scene? You know, like is it heading? Is it progressing? Or you know, are there, like you're talking about a pinch point? You know, people not training it together as much.
I feel like we are like a decade behind what's going on in the U.S. We're copying them, and we're poor imitations of them. That's what I feel. Yeah. So I feel like instead of being trying to copy a Mendez or a Miao, we should just use what we're taught and evolve it our own path.
Sure.
Which is what I kind of feel like my game kind of is. It's not ultra modern, but it's kind of old school, but it's not super old school.
Right.
I kind of took what I learned and made my own thing out of it.
Excellent.
And I think we should do that because we're so isolated from the mainland.
Yeah.
We should have like a Hawaii guard or something that we do, or Hawaii pass, you know, which we don't. We're just trying to do what they're doing, you know.
Right. Wrestling. We've got a lot of good wrestlers, high-level wrestlers in Hawaii, so it definitely transcends over into jiu-jitsu, you find. So, no, I agree with that 100%, Shane.
I like the takedown aspect. As I get older, it gets harder and harder, and I really gotta watch the room because it's so easy for people to get hurt on the takedowns, especially without good mats.
Yeah.
Like these mats are not good for takedowns.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I basically want like zebras with springboard, then you can bomb each other.
Right.
But for these mats, we just make the best as we can do.
Excellent.
So we do takedowns, but we don't battle it that hard. Right. Just to try and avoid the injuries.
Last question for me, Shane. We appreciate your time. If one thing that you would want to be remembered, if we were writing a book about all the guys who impacted Hawaii Jiu-Jitsu and have taught the art to the younger generation, one thing that you would want to be remembered for, is there anything that you'd want to strike home with the people, our viewers?
Maybe just like a good person that did good for the people around him.
Right on. Well, we certainly feel that way about you, Shane, and you're doing great things over here at Uptown Jiu-Jitsu, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mahalo, Shane. Thank you. That ends our episode of the Black Belt series here with Wizard Hawaii and Miley Girl Productions. Aloha, guys.